this is what's creating the excess radiant energy and fire in the body, and is what is creating a lot of these dysfunctions and disorders and diseases that people are receiving and getting at the moment. Yeah. All right, this one. So I want to clear my body of fibromyalgia. Now I'm going to share this one because I feel like there's a few people in here that have actually got underlying issues of fibro, and it just hasn't been diagnosed or shared yet. So fibro is actually connected, and it's excess radiant energy or fire, but it's excess fire in the muscle tissue. Yeah. So what happens is, so for instance, when I talk about fire and radiant energy, if I've got too much fire or radiant energy, it can show up in different tissues within the body, right? And based on the tissues in the body it shows up in will depend on what the diagnosis is, yeah? So, for instance, in this case, it's in the muscle tissue. So the diagnosis is fibromyalgia, yeah? And, it could be many other issues. For instance, if it was in the fat tissue, it could be diagnosed as inflammation within the digestive system, yeah? So depending on what tissue it's accessed depends on what the issue is. But anyway, going into, I want to clear my fibromyalgia, is excess radiant energy in the muscle tissue. Now, radiant energy or excess fire is a common one that's coming up a lot over the last 12 months, which leads to, inflammation for people. And the reason why it's coming up so much is because there's so much radiant energy around us and through us these days, right? Radiant energy is in our mobile phones. It's Wi-Fi is radiant energy, right? So when we're constantly in these environments, we're constantly taking on the radiant energy from the Wi-Fi, from our mobile phones, from people using microwaves, right? This is what's creating the excess radiant energy and fire in the body, and is what is creating a lot of these dysfunctions and disorders and diseases that people are receiving and getting at the moment. Yeah, it's a lot to do with what's inside us. Like radiant energy is about fire, anger, frustration, rage, resentment, jealousy, but it's also about our environment and what we're taking in from our environment. Yeah. So if you're on your phone consistently, you're taking in those radiant energy waves consistently through the day. Yeah. And then what's going to happen is over time you're going to end up with excess radiant energy, and it's going to leave its home, and it's going to try and find other parts of the body, other tissues in the body that it can go and that's weak, that it can go and affect and take over essentially. And this is what's happened with fibromyalgia, is that this radiant energy is starting to take over the muscle tissue. So when we look at fibro on a, let's say, an energetic basis, I mentioned the feelings, the anger, rage, frustration, and those. But there's also, it gets trapped in the body. So there's 18 trigger points in our body, which holds in the muscle tissue, which holds the radiant energy, which holds fibro. Yeah. So to deal with fibro, you need to energetically get these 18 trigger points released through, emotional release work. And that'll be through that will help to release, that emotion, that feeling of rage, anger, resentment, jealousy, whatever it is that's showing for you. But then when we're looking at it on a physical basis, what you can take for fibro is, I'm going to give you a range of different Ayurvedic herbs, powders. They're not all Ayurvedic, but, natural herbs and powders. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix these together and have half a tablespoon with warm water, 3 times a day for 35 days. So that'll physically help with the fibro to pull the radiant energy out of the cells in the muscle to start pulling it back to its home. So radiant energy's home is within the liver. Yeah. So we want to pull it back to the liver. And these physical herbs are ashwagandha, so ashwagandha powder, ASHWAGANDHA. Shatavari powder, SHATAVARI. Guduchi powder, GUDUCHI. Kaishore Gugulu, so KAISHORE, Gugulu, GUGGULU. Musta powder, MUSTA, and valerian powder, VALERIAN. So you've got those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different powders, and you're going to mix them together, so equal amounts of each, yeah, and then have half a teaspoon of warm water 3 times a day for 35 days. So physically, that'll deal and cleanse and remove the fibro. And then energetically, you need to get someone that does emotion release body work who can energetically remove the fibro out of the 18 trigger points. Now, if you're someone that's got fibro and you're uncertain as to who to go to or what these trigger points are, first find someone who does emotion release body work. If they don't know what the 18 trigger points are for fibro, please just ask me, and I'll send you something that'll show you the 18 trigger points, so you can give it to them so they can release it. So that's how you kill a fibro. So if you've got, if you feel like if you haven't been diagnosed with fibro and you feel like you're having lethargy and your muscles are starting to ache and sore and be lethargic, there's potential that there is fibro there. So please follow these protocols as well for yourself. Get it before it turns into, diagnosis fibro.